What's up, guys? Now, UFC 242 just wrapped up, and the card was actually pretty decent. Some scary knockouts, some competitive fights, some decisions that people think should have went the other way, and we got Khabib Nurmagomedov submitting Dustin Poirier in the third round. It was mostly domination on Khabib's part, besides the time where Dustin Poirier started chasing him down with some punches. Now, that big right overhand, it definitely clipped Khabib. Khabib was a little bit taunting. It looked like he was a little bit overconfident. He leaned back from the punch and gets caught by that switch in right overhand. Great shot from Dustin Poirier, and this fight is the most trouble Khabib has ever faced in his career in terms of getting hurt, almost caught in a guillotine. There's nobody else that put Khabib in this many dire situations in a fight. But for the most part throughout the fight, Dustin Poirier didn't know how to close the distance. Like I said in my breakdown on Dustin Poirier for this fight, he's going to have a hard time closing that distance from the outside, because if he's going to try to do so, he does run the risk of getting taken down, and we have seen him almost get taken down in a similar manner for trying to cross that far distance when he fought Eddie Alvarez. And what I also noted in that breakdown was Khabib against RDA, which is the most similar style opponent to Dustin Poirier. When he fought RDA, he stayed far away for the beginning of the fight until he found where he can pressure. It was identical to this. Completely identical. He was staying away, and once he was able to make a good angle to get Dustin Poirier a little bit closer to the cage, that's when he started exploding with those punches and drove it to the cage. That is what Khabib did this entire fight. It's what he always does. When you get past those black lines, he shoots on your legs, gets you to the cage, because there's very little risk on doing so. Besides, Dustin Poirier got pretty close to a guillotine in the third round. That's the most trouble I ever seen Khabib in a fight. But he got into half guard right away, and I was really expecting Cruz to say something about that. Because I know Anik was saying that Khabib was close to a guillotine, it's really close, everybody was really worrisome about the submission. But once he got into half guard, a lot of it got relieved, and from there, Khabib started rolling to his side to relieve even more of that squeeze, and eventually got the back of Dustin Poirier and submitted him. And when I make the breakdown, I'm going to see a little bit more clearly. But I think Dustin Poirier went up to look at his corner. Khabib punched his head up from there and then sunk in the choke. So I think it was a bit of an error from Dustin Poirier to look at his corner, because you see fighters do that a lot when they're on the ground, right? It's a lot slower of a pace. They can't really look at the corner when they're striking. So when it's on the ground, Dustin Poirier looking up at his corner does expose his neck as well. And you can hear him in the corner. He said, "I cannot get this guy away from me. I can't get him off me." And it looked like a bit panicky, mentally at least. And there was a point in that fight, I think it was in the second round, where Dustin Poirier was swinging wildly. I was very shocked to see that. I mean, Poirier has very precise hands, good form in his punches. That right hook is very tight. To see him lunging with haymakers and overhands and really extending forward, it shocked me. I was surprised why he did that. I don't know why he was doing that. Maybe he hurt his leg, because when he threw a kick once, it looked like he torqued his leg a little bit, but he looked pretty fine for the rest of the fight, which makes me think that wasn't it. It pretty much tells me he was just so cautious and so worried about the takedowns, man. And Khabib did land some decent strikes. He landed some of those blitzing combinations, those big hammering shots. And whenever he does that, opponents try to counter him, and he goes under for takedowns and drives it to the cage, because that pressure initially drives him closer to the cage, to the point where now he has the opening for a takedown. And one other thing, man, when Poirier was going for those switches on the ground and almost got him every time, I've never seen someone reverse them the way Khabib does. I mean, he clings onto you and he sticks on you like glue. And from that, he always got full mount or the back of Dustin Poirier. And from there, man, Khabib is just another level. He's just on another level. The same level I think Tony Ferguson's on. So that fight has to happen. There's no other fight to make. No other fight to make. I understand Khabib wants to take some time off, because it did look like he had a lot of pressure on him for this. He's trying to be a very good role model for the sport, and he said he's going to give the money to Dustin Poirier for his charity. He wore Dustin Poirier's shirt afterward. I mean, this is what we want to see. He's talking about respect and stuff. This is exactly what we want to see from MMA. Not these WWE personas and these beefs all the time and people going at each other, trash talking for childish reasons and stuff. I mean, it just gets boring after a while. I stopped watching WWE as a kid for a reason. And Khabib is an amazing role model for the sport. Great champion. One of the best fighters to ever compete. 28-0. I mean, that record is insane. And guess what? He's only one title defense away from tying the record for lightweight title defenses. 4 title defenses, and he breaks that record too? Come on, man. Him and Tony have to be next. That has to absolutely be the next fight. And as for Dustin Poirier, he's still up there, man. He's still one of the best fighters in this division. He has a lot of opponents up for him. I mean, you got Conor McGregor's out there. You got Donald Cerrone, who's number 4. Those 2 fights make the most sense right now. You do have Ali Quinta, I guess, at number 6. So he has options. And then we go to the co-main event. Paul Felder defeats Edson Barboza by split decision, 129-28 and 130-27. That's alarming. I don't know what that judge was smoking, man. 30-27 for either of these fighters is horrendous. That is so unacceptable. Edson Barboza clearly won the first round. Paul Felder clearly won the third round. It all came down to that second round. How much do you score the takedown? How much do you score that close armbar? Edson Barboza also landing some really good body kicks. Felder was landing really good jabs in that round. Very close round. I don't think it was a robbery unless you score like 30-27. Then I don't know what you're thinking. But it was a good fight, man. Best fight on the main card, I would say. Barboza's so fast. I mean, it has to be so scary to be in the way of those kicks. The velocity they travel at, it's like something out of a nightmare. I mean, you cannot get out of the way of those. The leg kicks, the body kicks, he spins at your head. His spinning back fist was really quick that he caught Paul Felder with. That counter left hook was precise. But then Paul Felder listened to his corner and started pressuring Barboza, and that's been Barboza's Achilles heel his entire career. He is impossible to fight at a distance. Everybody loses to him there. You just got to push him a little bit. You just got to press forward. And that's exactly what Felder did, and everything became easier. Jabs were landing, right hands were landing, some elbows. Both guys going for takedowns, which showed that rematches really aren't the same as their previous fight. Not much else to really say about it besides rubber match. Let's do a third one. First fight was great. Second fight was good. Third fight for all the marbles, you know? And I think everybody would be happy with that. It could be on any card, to be honest. And then we go to Islam Makhachev defeating Abdurakhimov by decision. And the fight was pretty lackluster. I mean, Islam Makhachev didn't want to do anything too risky because Abdurakhimov has big power in his hands and his BJJ is nothing to be trifled with. You do not want to go on the ground with that guy in the center of the cage. So both of them were trying to snipe each other from a distance. Islam Makhachev is shooting down that straight left hand, and Abdurakhimov is trying to connect on him with a jab and that looping right overhand. And at one point, that jab, as Islam was trying to make his way in, rocked him a bit. And from that, he started eliminating that lead hand of Abdurakhimov, so the jab is not in the way, and Hamos's right hand was always looping, so it was very easy to get a straight left right in there and get away. So it was pretty competitive. It was back and forth. Islam, I think, was winning the most part of the fight. He was landing a little bit more. I think that first round actually went to Islam because he landed one big left hand. And I'm talking about one big left hand. And that's pretty much why he won it. I mean, that's how inactive this fight pretty much was, but they kind of had to be that way. The third round changed everything, where Hamos started pressuring. And he should have been pressuring from the get-go. Not recklessly, but fire that jab out there. Don't wait for Makhachev. Throw out that right hand. You know, don't wait for him too much because he's not going to try to take you to the ground at the center of the cage. So he had a lot more room to be risky. But in the third round, he became a little bit too risky, started throwing winging punches all over the place, got into a tie plum and still throwing punches moving forward. Very ill-advised and caught a knee to the chin, which dropped him. And from there, Makhachev uses the wrestler's advantage, putting the head to the cage when they're on the ground, keeping that pressure and riding the fight out. Smart performance from Islam Makhachev. He needs to stop fighting unranked opponents. He called out the winner of Edson Barboza versus Paul Felder, which both are top 10 fighters, and both those are actually very favorable fights for him. We'll see if they do that. I think a lot of people want to see the rubber match. I think he'll get someone else. Maybe Eli Quinta will be open, and that should be more favorable for Islam to climb the ranks. And then we go to Curtis Blaydes defeating Shamil Abdurakhimov by TKO due to ground and pound in the second round. Just a shutout. I mean, the most dominating performance of the night. Shamil just couldn't stop the takedown. Curtis Blaydes is just way too strong. His wrestling is just way too high level and was able to get the full mount pretty easily from their hammering Shamil. There's not really much to say about this fight. Curtis Blaydes did whatever he wanted. They don't call him razor blades for no reason. Those elbows are so dangerous from how big he is. Raining down elbows on someone is terrifying. Look what he did to Alistair Overeem, man, and now look what he did to Shamil with that. Curtis Blaydes just keeps showing that he is definitely still one of the top fighters of this division. And who these guys should be fighting next? As for Curtis Blaydes, I'd like to see him fight JDS. That'd be a good fight. Daniel Cormier if he still wants to fight. But I don't think Cormier would take a fight like Curtis Blaydes. JDS is probably the perfect fight. He's number 3. He's right above Blaydes. Blaydes shouldn't be fighting anybody lower than him. And as for Shamil, I would say the loser of Derek Lewis versus Blagoy Ivanov would be an excellent fight. Shamil needs some time off, and Lewis's fight with Ivanov in November should create enough time for some recovery, training camp, negotiations, all that stuff later on in early next year. And then we go to Carlos Diego Ferreira defeating Mirbek Taisumov by decision 29-28 on all scorecards. This is a little bit surprising. Taisumov really gassed out in this fight. He started off very strong, landing good right hands. One right behind the ear of Ferreira looked like it was going to be an early finish. Taisumov kind of led off the pressure. I think he should have been a little bit more aggressive. And that was pretty much what plagued Taisumov. Other than gassing out, maybe wasn't used to the temperature. It was over 100 degrees, I think. He just wasn't active enough. You know, he should have done a lot more. When he hurt Ferreira, he shouldn't just let off the way he did. And Ferreira just kept getting stronger and stronger. Taisumov getting weaker and weaker to the point where Ferreira was just landing at will. Jabs, right straights, and Taisumov could not get out of the way of those because of his footwork. He is always known for very good foot placement, right? He's never really off balance. Until that third round, man, he was completely off balance every single time he was stepping. He was stepping with the wrong foot, and when he was moving away, he was still in distance for the punches of Ferreira to land. Taisumov's punches got really sluggish, and Ferreira really showed his striking hit a new level, man. That Dustin Poirier loss he had taught him a lot. Basic boxing, good footwork, good pressure, good at cutting off the cage, shooting straight shots instead of these looping punches you see a lot of grapplers do. Solid performance over an extremely credible win over the streaking Mirabek Taisumov. Ferreira's now on a 5-win streak, man. This lightweight division is insane. I mean, he could be fighting Davi Ramos. Mirabek Taisumov versus Davi Ramos would be an excellent fight. All of these guys in any other division would be top 15 fighters at least. Now, I did miss the prelims because it was on FX, and once I found that out, I didn't even bother to check anything else. So apparently it was on ESPN Plus, and I missed those fights. But I did see Otman Azaitar take Teemu Packalin's soul, man. I saw that on Twitter. I mean, come on, Azaitar, no setup. He did that thing where he kind of like cuffed his fist before he threw a big right overhand. Packalin walked right into it with a jab. The finish was terrifying. That is 2 devastating knockouts for Teemu Packalin. At this point, he should start questioning things or change everything. This is really bad. To get knocked out by Mark Giacchesi the way he did, and to get knocked out by Zaitar the way he did, there's some major holes in his striking defense. He's a really good grappler, but man, does he just walk into shots. It's crazy to see it. He has a long reach. He's really tall. He should be able to keep some range on his opponents instead of walking into their power shots, you know? So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe. Leave me in the comments below what you guys think about this whole card. What did you think about how it turned out? What do you think about Khabib's win? About his future? What the lightweight division is holding now? All that stuff. I can't wait to see what you guys think. And my breakdown's going to come out very, very soon, so be on the lookout for that as well. And again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.